I'm going to walk you through the steps in this video to create your own machine appliques. The example I'm using today is from my Spooky Sampler quilt. The method is Raw Edge Machine Applique. So the example of this video will be all for this particular shape on this particular quilt. However, this technique is universal. You can use it for any project. You can use it for t-shirts, tote bags, pillows, or anything else, and you can create any kind of applique shape that you want. The possibilities are endless. Let's walk you through piecing the spider and the bat blocks for the quilt. You're going to need a few things. There is noted on the pattern the size of background fabric square you need to cut. Then you also need to cut a piece of fabric that you will cut the bat or the spider out of and cut it slightly larger than the applique shape. It doesn't have to be perfect. You are going to need the bat applique pattern that is included in the pattern, a piece of heat and bond or a paperback fusible web. I like heat and bond light. I think it gives you the best kind of texture and weight in a quilt. It doesn't add a lot of weight to the quilt. And then you're going to need a light box. If you don't have a light box, it's not a big deal. Just use a window. Begin by placing your applique pattern on top of your light box and turn on the light box. Usually when you do applique using this method, you will need to reverse your image, but since the bat is pretty symmetrical and so is the spider, you don't need to worry about it at this time. Then you're going to take your paperback fusible web and place it over the top of the shape, just like this. I'm using the Cricut Bright Pad. It's my favorite one to use. It is rechargeable, so I don't have to worry about a cord. I'm just going to come in here and trace the shape onto the paper. Keep tracing until you get the whole thing traced and then cut it out loosely around the edge. After you have the bat traced and cut out loosely, take the fabric that you want to use on your quilt and place it upside down, and then place the bat on top of the fabric. Make sure you note the direction of the fabric. This fabric does have a direction. It doesn't have to be perfectly squared up to it, but you do want to kind of pay attention to it. This is also, if you're fussy, you want to fussy cut something, you can do that and move it around. The light box is really helpful if there's a certain part of the fabric you want to feature. Then take this over to your iron and press it really well. I have pressed the bat shape, and now I'm going to cut it out. These are my favorite scissors for this kind of work. They're by Olfa. They have very sharp tips and make it really easy to get into all of the little points and corners and curves of this bat, and especially with the spider, because the spider legs are kind of tricky too. So keep going all the way around until you have the whole thing cut out. After you've cut out the bat, you're ready to add it to your fabric. Come in and get a corner started. Sometimes, honestly, this is the hardest part of the whole process. If you don't have this adhered well, then it's not going to come off easily. So if it doesn't come off easily the first try, double check and make sure that you've ironed it all the way. So you're going to peel this off and just like throw away the paper, and then you can kind of see it's got a sheen. That is the sticky fusible that's going to stick to the fabric. This is the block it's going to get attached to. What I like to do to make sure I get this on right is I like to come in and finger press it lengthwise and crosswise so that I have a general idea of where the center is. So you can see I can tell where the center is. You can take it over to your iron and press it, but I've noticed that sometimes the crease can be a little hard to get out that way. And then just take your bat, line up the center with the center, and line it up top to bottom, just how you like it. It's a Halloween quilt. It doesn't have to be anything precise or particular. Just put it kind of where you want. I'm going to maybe line up the bottom of these wing tips with the center. And take it over to your iron and press it down really well. And the next thing we're going to do is add applique stitches on the sewing machine, and I will walk you through all of the steps to do that as well. The next part you're going to complete on your sewing machine. I have on my sewing machine, I have an open toe foot. If you don't have an open toe foot, pick whichever presser foot you can see the most of your needle area in, so you can see where your applique stitches are going. For this particular technique, I always like to use thread that matches my fabric. I'm using Metler Silk Finish cotton thread. You want to use a cotton thread because it's going to lay nicer on your quilt than a polyester thread. I am using 50 weight thread. You could also use 60 weight thread, which is a lighter weight thread. Is up to you. On your sewing machine, find the applique stitch. This is what applique stitch looks like. It looks like, I don't know, little U's or little L's all in a line. I have done a little bit of a test just to make sure it's the stitch that I want, and also to make sure I understand how the sewing machine goes. So it's going to go out, in, out, down, in, out, down. So that as I go around my applique shape, I know where to turn, where to pivot, and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely, if you haven't done this before, I definitely recommend doing a scrap piece first. Take your piece that has been pressed and come over to your machine. Oh, looks like my needle became unthreaded. Someone told me once when you sew to put the needle where you want it to go, which sounds so obvious, but it's also so obvious. So I usually start with the needle down right here. Can I get the thread out of the way? And what I want is I want the up and down stitches to go along the curve, and I want the in stitches to go in towards the fabric to tack it down. Oh, looks like I started wrong, but it's okay. I can kind of budge it over. So I'm slowly moving and slowly rotating my fabric as I go. Every once in a while, I will lift my presser foot so I don't get too much fabric stuck under there. I have a tendency to go too fast, but now coming up to the corner, we're going to out, in, out, out. Okay, now I know the next stitch is in, so I'm going to go ahead and pivot my fabric, let it do in and out, and then it's going to keep going. And then you're just going to keep doing the same thing all the way around the edge of the fabric. And you want to make sure that you get this stitch down really well, because when you quilt your quilt, like if you send it to a long arm quilter or you machine quilt it yourself on your machine, you don't want this to pop up. The heat and bond will keep it from fraying, but this is going to keep it down. It's also going to give it a nice look. It gives it a nice finished edge. So keep going all the way around until you have finished stitching your back.